Thanks for doing this.
Happy anniversary.
I appreciate it. So I just want to start with, if you weren't on this show right now, what would you be doing? Because you're not on tour. You're not in the studio, I don't think.
I am in the studio.
Okay, I got that. Okay.
I would be in the studio finishing Mavis Staples' record.
The second one.
The second one, yes.
So is there other Friday nights when you say, you know what, I'm going to Waveland Bowl, or?
I mean, if I want to answer you honestly.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. I would be in my underwear.
You're welcome to here. I mean,
I would be in my underwear watching a crime show in my basement.
Your wife told me.
That's totally honest. Yeah. I only like shows without murder.
I was all set to do this very boring, you would have hated me, questions that would dissect every single album, and then I said I'm going to take an alternate form of research, which meant asking your wife, and she said exactly that you're obsessed with crime shows, but she also said that you. Jeff Tweedy and the fire department on the show at the same time. There must be a problem with the ice box back there. I don't know what it could possibly. Anyways, she said.
Is everything okay?
I hope. Why is Kate James from Schadenfreude going back there now? Anyways, she said that not only do you watch these shows, but now you think that you know how to solve crimes.
I do know how to solve crimes. I do. If anyone has any cold cases that they would like me to take a look at.
Wait, I mean, you've got a certain amount of clout. Would you ever think, I'm going to call up CBS and say, CSI Chicago, it's about a guy who's in a pretty popular band, and he also solves crimes on the side?
It's never occurred to me, but now that you mention it, it would be a great TV show. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit. When you're on a stage, like...
I would never want to do it in real life because the TV shows really don't show much of the crime scenes, the actual crime scenes. I won't want to really see the crime scenes.
Don't they get pretty? I mean, I like to read a lot of mysteries and detective novels, but the shows they don't show the real, like the SVU and stuff, like they don't show really terrible stuff.
No, well, that's not. I don't like the fake shows. I don't like dramatizations. I like when they're interviewing real criminals, and I love watching people lie. I just think it's amazing. It's fascinating. It's incredible.
Are you a liar? But are there times when you say, I could see why I would lie in that situation?
No, I'm more fascinated by it on the level of, do they know they're lying? Do they think they're lying? And do they think that, what makes them lie? Yes, that's interesting, but do they believe the lie themselves? Which I'm convinced that most of them do, and most of the really good liars do believe it themselves. There's no way I did that. I did not kill that person.
I don't want to get too fake deep, but but I'm pretty good at getting fake deep, not real deep. Don't you think
it's my forte?
Yeah.
It's okay. It's great.
And in some sense, I mean, don't we just all? I mean, we don't. Most of us don't murder people. Some of us here do, but most don't. But don't we all do that? We tell ourselves lies all the time, and we don't know we're lying to ourselves.
Well, yeah, I think that. As a recovering addict, I think that's part of the fascination because you really can't be an addict without a certain amount of self-deception. So that's pretty deep. That's pretty.
You answered my fake deep with real.
Yeah, I went
with addict deep.
I got in just under your deep.
And now I need to get back to the shallow end where I belong.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's cool. So when you're on a stage like this, which this is a club, a place, a bar you've known for for a long time, and that do you feel more comfortable on a stage like this, or do you feel more comfortable when you're at a big hall somewhere?
Smaller places are terrifying sometimes. They always have been. I would say I'm more comfortable here. This is more. I went to see shows when I was growing up. When I would see people I enjoyed, they would be in places like this. So it was easier for me to project myself onto a stage like this than, say, an arena. I very rarely went to see anybody play in an arena. So when we started playing bigger places, and we have played some arenas, it was like, what do people do in here? What is, how is this supposed to work?
Can you create a level of intimacy in an arena? And
No.
No, you can't at all.
No, you can still make it it's still a celebration, and it's still something I think useful, and it's a collective experience that can be meaningful and worthy, but it's never going to be intimate. It just can't be.
Are you ever performing in an arena and you also can kind of hear in the background Tim Tutton talking to the fire department?
That's actually one of the benefits of the bigger establishments. Is they generally have their fire codes all in order, and they're a lot more professional.
So let me ask you this: you got a leg of a tour coming up, which will take you to Australia, to Japan, to New Zealand, and then Nelsonville, Ohio.
Right.
Do you and I was looking at on your website, and it's like Wilco, and then for the Sydney Opera House it says an evening with Wilco. What's an evening with Wilco?
No opening act. That's really it's really the only difference.
There's not wine and
Wilco
cheese.
plays so long. It could be like a weekend with Wilco. We play long shows already. So, but they just don't traditionally have, at that venue, at the Sydney Opera House, they don't generally have opening acts because you do a sound check in the early part of the day, and then you take everything back down so that the symphony can rehearse. And then they get done rehearsing at like 7 o'clock. And then you put everything back on stage, and then you play the show. So there's no time to really have another act, but that's the way it works there.
Does the symphony, do they come up and say we love Wilco, or do they say get out of our space?
Well, it hasn't happened yet.
Okay. Right.
So generally we don't interact with the classical musicians very much. They're generally really nice, but I don't understand why they can't just practice at home. What are they doing? Are they like reinventing
Skype, right?
Well,
just get all the musicians on various things.
Well, no, they could all just play along to the record. Isn't there like 1,000 recordings of every one of their song, or like the pieces in the repertoire?
So. Just when you're there 3 nights, suggest it on the first night, and then see what happens.
I might say that. Wilco doesn't rehearse. That's why you make records, so you don't have to rehearse, so you can all do it individually.
One of the things that I saw Springsteen twice this summer, and I've seen him before, and a lot of musicians you couldn't tell with a guy like him whether he's having a good day or a bad day personally. He's just a showman, and he steps up to the mic, and he's just Mr. I'm here to entertain everybody, and I love it. But how do you, if you're in you seem to do that differently. If you're in a terrible mood, or you've had a bad week or a bad month, like that will come across more in your show, which I think is more, in some ways, more honest. Is that true?
I think so. Unfortunately, I think that I've had many bad nights that have followed me around for my entire career. For example, I yelled at an audience in London one time that if they didn't get up out of their seats, I was gonna rub my Yankee ass all over their limey foreheads.
And did they
It didn't
follow?
even make any sense. No, but to this day, we can't go to England without somebody writing about how I'm a asshole and I hate them. I hate the audience. And I think I've come to the conclusion that the British rock critics just enjoy being hated more than American rock critics. But to answer your question, I don't have a persona that I feel that confident about to maintain and self-mythologize.
Sure.
Which is, I think, one of Bruce Springsteen's real talents, aside from writing songs and but he's really honed and maintained this this gigantic persona for so long, and I just really don't like anything I've ever done that much, like enough to do that.
One thing I think you told the Onion AV Club, which I loved and made me think about musicians in a different way, was that you talked about how when you write a song that you want to, and maybe this is common sense, but you want to share your emotions with others. And oftentimes when I listen to music, I guess I take a more selfish view and I think, okay, I'm listening to a song by Wilco, and how can I make this song mean something in my life? And maybe I'm interpreting it completely wrong, but it means something to me and it helps me with my life. But I don't think that for some reason that you needed to get that out to me. Is that true, that you need to get these emotions out to others? It's not just getting it out in the world for yourself, but you want others to hear it.
I said that?
It might have been the interviewer, and then you said no. But no, I
It's like I don't know if I feel that way.
You did on September 21st, 2011.
I don't. I think that you're really gonna struggle and be very disappointed if you really feel like you can convey your intentions to an audience. Exactly. You have to be open to the world making of it whatever they want to make of it. And I'm very comfortable with that at this point in my life. I only really feel like I do what I do for the process of doing something. So I have something to do. I like making stuff. And as much as I can try and be happy with it when it's done, I really just want to make the next thing. I'm much more happy in my life when I'm making something. It's not about finishing something or even conveying any emotion or any meaning. I don't think you could put two words together without there being some meaning conveyed. So that takes care of itself, in my opinion.
Is that where making music, talk about the building of a song that goes on with the band, that starts with you writing a song and then becomes the building of a sculpture or something where you keep adding on to things? Is that where that kind of thing comes in?
Well, that's the band process, and fortunately I'm in a band with a bunch of guys that really enjoy that same process, that you wake up in the morning and this thing doesn't exist, and you go to bed that night and there's something new that wasn't there, and that's incredibly gratifying and empowering, and you have to really trust each other. I don't know, if you really go into it with married to this idea of what it has to be, that just falls apart. That process falls apart. And there are definitely artists and people that work with this fully realized approach to it. I haven't met any people that really go at it like that. Like they picture what it's going to be and then they execute it. And I don't know, at that point it just seems like why do it? If you can already picture exactly what it's going to be, it's the exploration that's fun.
So is there a point in the exploration, you say it's not the finished product that matters the most, but is there a point where you get lost in the exploration and that becomes depressing or defeating and you think, I'm not going to get out of here?
No, I don't think so. I think The hardest part of any record is there's a spot somewhere towards the end, like somewhere around 75% of the way finished with a record, where you hate it, are miserable because it's so awful, and you just can't stand it anymore. And luckily, I've made enough records and been doing this long enough that I go, oh, I must be 75% of the way done. Or unfortunately, I have my wife to remind me. I'll say, this record sucks, and she'll say, you say that every time, and I'll say, you say that every time. And then you get through it, and then you finish it, and then it's this wonderful little period where you sit back and go, I don't know how we did that. I don't know how that happened, and that's really the goal. You enjoy it for about a week and a half, and then the record leaks, and people start weighing in on it, and it's miserable.
I mean,
again.
your album leaking. You're one of the few. Usually, it's the rappers who their records leak. So you should feel pretty good that it's not every rock band whose album leaks. How does it leak?
Leaks on a whole different level.
How does it happen? Like, is it Starrett who just takes it and sends it out into the internet, or what? I mean, how does that? Who is leaking it?
Well, inevitably you send some of the records out to long lead press, is what they call it. People like your previous guest, who.
You're saying Bill Zemi is leaking the Wilco records?
I think so. Yeah, he gets stuff really, really early, way before. Maybe not. You don't write about music very often, do you?
It's a shame. I should.
Yeah. Well, but they. Yes, you should. It's the highest art form. They send the CDs out when there's a magazine there's print magazine that says, oh, we need it 3 months or we'll never be able to get the
blurb,
get it right.
Yeah.
But then those people have it, and then the record. It's usually somebody at the record company. It's usually somebody in the mailroom at Warner Brothers, or they just have that stuff.
So then one thing I love that you said is that the album comes out and people often label it or put it into a box based on the first song.
Well, absolutely. There's no doubt in my mind that the critical shorthand for anything I've ever done, at least, would apply to the first song of every given record. Say, for example, if Yankee Hotel Foxtrot is the experimental record, that applies to the first song only. If Jesus, Etc. were the first song, there's absolutely nothing that would make sense about that characterization of that record. But each record has had that in common.
Do you ever think, next record, first song, polka?
Well,
or get another band to perform the song?
No, I mean it's a challenging thing to ignore, knowing that that's a fact. You still want to make a record that has a balance and has a flow that it's sequenced in a way that's pleasing to the form. We like making records, but at the same time, it's very tempting to react to that knowledge.
Sure.
And put a polka song first. Or with the most recent record, we put the sound of hard drives dying at the very beginning of the record.
In The Art of Almost.
Yeah, The Art of Almost is like the sound of data dying.
And I think that record is about hard drives dying.
Yeah, exactly. Well, people were a little bit more like, oh, it's a return to the more experimental thing.
Yeah.
Like, okay. They're all exactly the same, except for maybe the first record or so. They all kind of have, to me, they all have the same ingredients.
Do you ever write a song, it's pretty personal to you, and then it comes out, and people are saying, oh, this is what Jeff's going on in his life. This is what he's thinking. And then later you think, I like the song, but I probably shouldn't have put it out because people are just saying all this crap.
No.
I mean, that's good. That's probably good.
No, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been that precious about it. I mean, I've overshared quite a bit, and I think I've believed probably just in the last 15 minutes, but I don't really believe that there's
It's just
that
between
much.
you, these people, and the fire department.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that there's that much to be embarrassed about generally, so I don't know where that comes from because I'm not that secure of a person. But I don't seem to have a lot of emotional fear of that. Emotional fear, as opposed to
That makes
unemotional
sense.
fear.
No, I mean, you could have fear that was just, like, let's say there was a
Irrational?
spider. That'd be fear. There's not really emotions. It's fear that this thing can do something to me that would harm me. It's not, that's a different kind of fear. Or fear, like when FDR talked about fear, that was a different kind of fear.
Right. Existential.
This
fear.
seems like a great place to say, did the interview go adequately enough that you will play a song to close out the show?
Sure. I'm gonna play a song that Mavis just recorded, but it's not a song that I wrote. It's by Washington Phillips. I'm thinking of friends who I used to know, who lived and suffered in this world below. They've gone off to heaven, but I want to know, what are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abounds like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? There's some whose hearts were burdened with care. They paid for the moment with fighting and tears. They clung to the cross with trembling and fear. What are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abounds like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? There's some whose bodies were full of disease. Physicians and doctors couldn't give them much ease. They suffered till death brought a final release. What are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abounds like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? There's some who were poor and often despised. They looked up to heaven with tear-blinded eyes. People were deaf and heedless to their cries. What are they doing there now? What are they doing in heaven today? Sin and sorrow are all done away. Peace abounds like a river, they say. What are they doing there now? Thank you.